There you go.
Well, welcome to the February 14th, 2023 session of TangerineSDR and Hamside technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I've been following Tom's instructions to get myself back up to speed. I did get my GPS patched thanks to Dave McGaw, so I appreciate that. And so I should be able to follow Tom's instructions and test things out. I have another day or two and to get it up and running again. I'm also dealing with family issues that take my time, so we'll see when I get it done. So that's it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks a lot, Dave. It's been a busy week as always. Let's see, I did get a chance to talk to Scotty last week, so that was good. I know Scotty is very, very, very busy, but hopefully we can still get things moved along there. I also do have a draft of the Hamside workshop program. I'll put it in the chat. I will say that this is just a draft right now. I'm meeting with the program committee tomorrow. Let's see, so you can take a look at it. You can give me comments. I'm going to do a lot. I still have to think about what's going to happen on Saturday afternoon, because I think I want to add a little bit more structure to Saturday afternoon than we had last year. So I'm thinking of doing more like a few more like workshop type of things and a few more hands-on activities. But I'll probably have more information on that next week or so. Other than that, just lots and lots of stuff with the other research projects and with classes and everything else, and getting ready for Hamside workshop. W2NF, back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Not a lot to tell as usual. I've been plugging around little projects my own, and a bit with uBlock's timing receivers, but otherwise nothing to tell.
Okay. Next on the list is Jules, K2KGJ. Go ahead, Jules.
Good evening, Dave and the net. Not a lot to report this week. I was tied up with a bunch of family matters and things around the house, and no progress basically on any other projects. Back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is Michael, AAAK. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, thanks very much. Greetings to everyone on the net. Back to you, Dave.
Okay. Next on the list is Bill, AB4EJ. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dave. Not a lot to report. Worked a little bit on my presentation for the Hamside workshop, and spent the weekend in Orlando at Hamcation, and not much to report there. A lot of people who are expecting to have an eyeball QSO for various reasons didn't make it to the Hamfest. So anyway, it was well attended, which I was glad to see. Went to a very interesting presentation on EME contacts, and I think with just the addition of a mast mounted preamplifier, I think I would have a station that could do EME on 2 meters. So I'm gonna look into that. But anyway, that's about all. Back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is Bob, N5BRG. Go ahead, Bob.
Good evening, everybody. Just staying busy with all my projects here. Did a little work on my infrastructure, trying to get wiring pulled to my observatory site today. We had some pretty nice weather in this area, so able to get out and do some work. Anyway, back to the net.
Well, very good. And next on the list is David in 1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good morning, or good, yeah, whatever. It's morning UT, everyone on the net, and pretty busy these days. Working on the Korean AGO project. We've got the AM Doppler. We've got students looking to build that out for us. Various other research sites that Dartmouth has that are giving us problems. So we're working through that. South Pole, Alaska, Baffin Island, things like that. And thanks, Tom, for passing on the video. I've been going through that and hopefully can use that to bring up the development card shortly. So back to net.
Okay. And next on the list is Dylan R. Go ahead. Looks like he's in a car. Mobile.
It seems like I'm always in a car for these meetings. Hopefully this was the last time. Maybe, I don't know. So we've had lots of fun, lots of it. Trying to get our Conic ship, the shipping company that we're trying to get it shipped through. They're extortionists, trying to get every nickel and dime that we have out of you. So dealing with that, but other than that, we're back in Tennessee, just finishing up, driving, getting back home. Hopefully this is the last time. So I just want to be in one place. That's about it.
Well, very good. Thanks for the report. And next on the list is Hyomin Kim, KC2 MCR. Go ahead, Hyomin.
Hello, can you hear me? Somehow
Yes.
my Zoom is acting up, so I don't know why my camera is not turning on. Anyways, good evening, everyone. Nothing's too much to report. At the moment, the ham site workshop is coming up, so I'm trying to prepare for something, including the data analysis and data portal development. So yep, that's what I'm working on right now. But other than that, there's nothing in particular to report. So back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is James, KG4 DSG. Go ahead, James.
Evening, Dave, the group. Not much going on here. Just listening in. Back to the net.
Okay. And next on the list is Jay Schwartz, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, good evening to all my fraternal brothers there in ham radio. Very glad to be here with you tonight. I just joined late, just a couple minutes ago. Had another meeting, had to retreat from because of someone got me really upset that so had to get away from them. Looking forward to the meeting, to the Hamside conference, still making plans for what we're going to do around either side of it. Other than that, ham radio wise, just looking forward to operating W1AW/8. So for those of you that are in the 8th call district, go to the Michigan QRP Club, Mike India Quebec Romeo Papa.org is where you can sign up to operate W1AW/8 if you're in the 8th call district. So I'll be operating 20 meters FT8 and really looking forward to that. Other than that, take care, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll catch you later on down the log. Back to net control.
Very good. And next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Good evening, everyone. Finally, we're getting the snow under control here. And of course, we're expecting 1 to 2 more feet in the next couple of days. So we'll see what happens there. Greg keeps plugging along, keeps recording an occasional flare. And I've seen one in about every other day. I see something that looks like it might be a flare. I watched, I listened for the SAG, the Swedish big alternator station, and didn't hear anything this far out in the west. Listened to saw all sorts of other stuff, but nothing from SAG. Watched Tom's video, and that leaves some concerns here. That number one, he's using a very different operating system than I do. I use Linux Mint, and wonder maybe in the discussion if I have to go to a different version of Mint to be able to use my my Max 10 board. And also, I don't have anything other than the Max 10 board. Just wonder what I'm going to need. Looks like I need some kind of a interface to go with that until the real boards are available. Thank you, Dave.
Well, fine business. I think I'll let Tom answer that, but I'm a Mint user as well. And I'm setting up one machine just for work with Tom's. But I think that's really if you're going to be recompiling the FPGA code is where you
for right now, the CentOS 7 is really the package you need to use at the current phase. That's the only package that Quartus is guaranteed to work with. And I did find issues on Ubuntu, so I had to do a lot of patches. There is on TangerineSDR.com a guide as to how to make Ubuntu work with Quartus. And I've had success with it. Huang did not have such good luck with it. But ultimately, for just running things, of course, you won't need a development environment at all. But at the current point in time, you're going to need CentOS if you want to run Quartus.
Yes. So there's your answer. So next on the list is Jonathan, KC3 EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. It's been quite a busy week for me. There were some amateur transmissions in the 58 kilometer band. That's 5.17 kilohertz. There have been some EBNOT transmissions from DL3JMM. Unfortunately, I was not able to decode them. The signal just wasn't strong enough. Also, I am in the process of first I should mention I figured out that on FreeBSD the order in which options are put in your command line make a difference. The 2 dashes indicates to the get opt library that there are no more options being parsed. In Linux, that doesn't really matter where it's actually placed, but in FreeBSD, there is a possibility that you could place it in the wrong order, and the command won't work. So you have to be careful not to need to be careful to make sure that everything is in order. So what I was able to do was I was able to get data streamed from the Paul's servers, VLF data, Vorbis compressed, and streamed over the internet, and I'm recording uncompressed data as well as spectrum data and events. I was able, there were 2 whistlers that came along in the past few days. Another very exciting thing, SAQ had their transmission today, and what I did was I was able to, well, I was recording the spectrum, and I was quite excited because let's see here. I believe that I may be able to actually receive it. So I'm going to share my screen. There's a this is a amplitude plot of SAQ. I recorded it with VT-SID. You can see, so the transmission occurred, it started at 1500 UT, and you can see there are 2 peaks here, and they're actually pretty thick compared to the other spikes, which are much thinner, which are noise, but these are actually pretty thick. So this is a pretty good indication that I actually received it, that I could make a good copy of it. And if you zoom in, which what I'll do, I will zoom in, and
Can you explain what SAQ is for us uninitiated?
SAQ is a very old vintage station. The transmitter is comprised of an alternator. Back then, they didn't have power amps that can transmit that much power for those frequencies. So what they had to do was they had to use an actual alternator, and the station itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is used, or they transmit different messages. They they do transmissions at least twice a year, and usually to send a very positive message. So I was able to zoom in. So if you look at this zoomed in, it looks like that I received some power from that station. And you could see there's the peaks are actually pretty thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to integrate over the transmission duration to see how much power I actually received. I'm actually quite excited because this shows lots of promise. Then once I perform the integration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter it out, and I'm going to run it through a multiplicative mixer. You know, that's the product detector that most in your radios. I'm going to get and I'm going to mix it down to around 500 hertz. This way, it's actually audible. And then if there's still too much noise, I'm going to run it through a Butterworth filter, just to kind of filter out noise. The last time that we received SAQ, I had that a ground noise problem, but now that's resolved itself, and it looks like that that I may be able to copy some or most of the message. So I'm actually really excited to do the signal analysis. And lastly, Nathaniel, when we have some time, we could talk about my presentations, and I do apologize for getting. I still don't have the abstracts to you. I was very busy today. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay, well, next on the list, let's see, where are we? Jones, Dave. So Tom in 5EG. I think you're the only one that hasn't spoken yet. I mean, other than your corrections.
Okay. Well, good evening. It was a busy week. We had a huge email thread last week and got the GPS initialization working in the code. The bug is a strange one. It turns out that if you talk to an I2C device on the same bus as the GPS receiver, but at a different slave address, the GPS receiver interprets that as the packet of death, and it refuses to talk. So you have to first talk to the GPS receiver on I2C and get its engine up and running. And then you can talk to other different devices on that I2C line. And the GPS continues to work after that. But if before you talk to the GPS, you talk to the synthesizer, the GPS will never come alive again. So real strange bug. At any rate, we got that figured out. John Ackerman went through about 4 or 5 revs of the GPS commands. We got the ones that worked and captured them in the code. And so now the GPS and synthesizer come up automatically without requiring a Windows computer and the U-Center software and all of that kind of stuff. With that done, got the video produced and uploaded Saturday on how to bring up the phase 1A of TangerineSDR. And as we mentioned earlier, you do need to use CentOS 7 to do that. That's a limitation of the Intel Quartus software, which is only works with that particular version. The Quartus wants Java 7 runtime. It wants a few other things, and so your version locked into a pretty old version of Quartus to get that to, or a pretty old version of Linux to get that to come up and run. On Ubuntu, I had to install Java 7 on the development environment to get Quartus to come up and work. 2 weeks ago, I had forked off the initial beginning of phase 1B testing, and I'll now have to go back and merge the changes that we put into 1A into 1B and get going back again on 1B. 1B is the first test where we want to take a burst of samples from the receiver and then play those out to GNU radio so we can do a spectral analysis of a wideband limited time duration sample set. I managed to get that to build and meet timing by stripping out almost all of the guts of the NEOS processor in the phase 1B test. So by pulling out all of the prefetching in data instruction prefetching, that left enough space on the FPGA to get a third DMA controller in and make it still meet timing. The question, of course, that brings up is, will the TCP IP stack still come up and run with all of that stripped out? And that'll be pretty much the first test to do. If that works fine, then we'll start bringing up the Verilog code for doing the burst processing. There's a couple things to go figure out, but this should be straightforward. We still have to figure out how the buffer management is done. A traditional problem in any kind of a packet-based system is you typically have a free list of buffers, and when you want to send something, you allocate a buffer from the free list, fill it and send it. And when it gets sent, it gets put back on the free list. And so there's got to be some kind of mechanism for doing that. I think that's done by the DMA chip and the drivers for the DMA. So we'll go figure that out. So that's next up on the list, is to try and make some progress in phase 1B. It brings up one Verilog question. I was hoping Scotty would be here so he could provide me a little bit of guidance on that one question, but I'll find an answer to it some way. The basic problem is the receiver samples come in DDR clocked. So there's 122.88 megahertz clock, and receiver A clocks in 16 bits of sample on the rising edge, and the receiver B clocks in 16 bits on the falling edge of the clock. And so I've got to figure out how to move the samples. Some samples are going to have to move clock edges, and Verilog usually complains a whole lot when you try to retime samples between edges. I know there's a way to do it. I'm just so inexperienced in Verilog that it'll take a little bit of time to figure that out. Other than that, that was a pretty busy week. Get back to the net.
Well, fine business. That sounds like you have done an immense amount of work over a short period of time. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of work over a long period of time, and there was a whole lot of bugs found over a short period of time.
Well, either way, you've done a lot of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
So, well, I think that's the end of the list, so we can be open for general discussion.
Yeah, I was just going to say I missed the SAQ transmission today again, unfortunately, so I still don't know if I can receive it. I remembered it just after they probably finished, but they will happen again. And for those who aren't up on what the significance of SAQ, it's the one Alexanderson transmitter, which is a physical alternator operating at 17.2 kilohertz that they power up in Norway periodically on historically significant days. The other thing I'm going to say is that whoever's getting the snow, could you send it over here? We're getting nothing. In fact, we just had 2 sled dog races have to be canceled, one of which we were going to do amateur radio support on, because there just isn't any snow on the ground. It's all mush. So back to net.
But we're supposed to have it here. Can I ship it UPS or FedEx?
FedEx is more reliable.
I'll chip in some too.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind some either. We just got a brand new fireplace installed in our house, and nice to have a little snow outside when we enjoy the fireplace inside.
By the way, I also noticed that NAA was off the air this morning when SAQ was supposedly transmitting, but they came back on later. NAA being the naval station at 24 kilohertz. I could see North Dakota and I could see Puerto Rico, but no Maine.
Yeah, NAA was off the air, but it's a Monday. And I believe they do maintenance on Mondays. I don't know if it's certain Mondays in every month or but I do remember somebody saying that they noticed that NAA is off and off the air on Mondays for maintenance.
Yeah, the funny thing is they won't tell us that, because when we were flying our the Viper rocket mission, we were worried about when they would be, if they would be off when we wanted to fly, because that was a major part of our research. But they wouldn't tell us, so we just had to trust that it would stay on when we flew. It did.
Yeah,
was fortunate.
Well, I was getting Australia, Hawaii, Jim Creek, and North Dakota out here pretty darn strongly,
Uh-huh.
but no SAQ.
Oh, that's interesting. They are lower power. I forget what they say that they're, I think they're about like 100 kilowatts or so instead of these megawatt monsters.
Yeah, the Navy stations tend to be megawatt or more.
Yeah, the interesting thing, I was just reading about NAA again today, refreshing my memory, and their transmitter is 2 megawatts, but when they have to de-ice the antennas, it takes 4 megawatts.
Good grief.
Wow.
They run power through the antenna wires to de-ice it.
Right. I need to de-ice my roof. It is starting to melt off, but golly. I think I was also picking up one JJI out of Japan at 21.2.
Oh, really?
But no SAQ, just absolutely nothing. And I had the gain turned up fairly high, and there was absolutely no indication they were on the air. Copied the code great via YouTube.
Yeah, I noticed the last time that they did their Christmas Eve transmission in 2021, there were people who have tried on the West Coast and were fairly unsuccessful. It was mainly on the East Coast that most were able to copy. But that makes sense that you're able to get JJY where you are. I don't. I mostly get noise because I do monitor it, but most of the time it's buried in the noise.
Well, the one station I saw that did a good job was KL7KL, and he had pretty good copy on him a couple of years ago.
This is on the West Coast?
Alaska.
Oh, Alaska. I wonder if anybody tried. Well, keep an eye open for people's reception reports coming in. They have a Google Forms on their website for people to submit their signal reports, and that's when you will get your QSL card.
Yeah, I submitted a not heard report. As I say, they were fine on Google. I mean, YouTube.
Yeah.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
I was wondering if you wanted to talk about your abstracts or your presentations at all.
Sure. Well, one thing that I wanted to ask, will you be having a demo room or a demo area for hardware?
Yes, we will.
Do you have a lot of participants so far?
I would love to have your participation if that's what you're asking.
Okay, because that I definitely plan on doing as well. I just don't know which one that I will get done first.
Okay.
So yes, I definitely plan on bringing hardware.
Great.
As for the presentation, it definitely fits better under personal space weather station rather than Eclipse.
Right. Which is good because that's where I was able to fit it. So.
Okay. And what is the deadline for submitting posters for printing?
For printing, I'd say like first week of March.
Okay. All right. So the poster I wanted to feature some of the interesting things that were done over the past year. Primarily like possibly some of the amateur transmissions, also the analysis on Sprite producing lightning and detection of the ELF tail. And I wanted to show off that stacked plot of grape data. So I wanted to put that in the poster as some, you know, highlights of what happened throughout the course of the year, and then the presentation will cover more of the highlights and things like that.
That sounds good. So the presentation, you said the presentation is going to cover more of the highlights?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
So the poster will only cover like maybe one or two things.
Okay.
But it'll go into a little bit more detail.
Okay.
Whereas the presentation will cover everything, but it'll be more of a high level overview.
Okay. That sounds good.
Is there anything specific that you might want me to cover or mention or talk about?
I don't think so. I'm not sure everything you have, so I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Do you have a draft of it done?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I'm getting all the screenshots and samples and you know, getting everything else ready.
Yeah.
I definitely will have the abstracts for you this week, and I do apologize for getting them so late.
Okay. Not a problem.
I meant to do them today, but I had to replace the faucet in my bathroom sink because it was leaking. So
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, that sounds just fine.
all right. For the in will the demo room have windows?
That is going to be trickier.
Okay.
So would you be wanting to put an antenna outside?
Yeah, at least the only antenna that I wanted to put outside was the GPS antenna.
Okay. Yeah, that seems to be the LSC isn't really designed that well for that sort of thing, unfortunately.
Right.
I was going to try and find a room that might have that sort of thing for Case Western for them to do like an hour-long workshop on something. But for the main demo room, you know where the Bell lobby is? It's the main lobby right in the LSC where there's a giant peace bell that everyone rings when they walk by.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you know how there's a classroom right next to it?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna put the demo room in there.
Okay.
But that definitely does not have outside windows.
Well, I don't have to have it powered up and working.
Yeah.
What I could do, I mean, it'd be nice if I could, but
yeah.
If I show off the 3-channel system, then I'll just show off screenshots and stuff using my laptop.
That sounds good. I think that may be the thing to do.
All right. Yeah, because I definitely would like to have a GPS signal, but I know in that uh inside the LSC that's very
Not-
hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And even I'm for the other one where I was thinking, hoping to get them a window like that. I really haven't come up with a good solution for that yet either. I've been thinking about it too. Have to walk around the building a bit, but
Okay.
Mm.
Well, yeah,
They- all of these energy efficient buildings, they don't let you open the windows.
right. Yeah, that's rather unfortunate. But yeah, I'll figure out something to make it work.
That sounds good. But yeah, definitely when you get your abstracts ready, or if you have more questions, let me know.
Okay. There was one question I wanted to ask you. Did you notice how much grass is around the VLF antenna?
I haven't noticed, but I don't think very much. It hasn't really grown at all over the winter.
Okay. Yeah, because I
can try to remember to look tomorrow and send you a picture.
okay. All right. Well, while you're out there, if you could, if there's grass around the antenna, just try to like pull some of it out and like push it down. But just be very, very careful of the wires.
Right.
Like when you're pulling, just be careful that you're not pulling on any wires.
Yeah. That makes sense.
All right, thanks. Yeah, because I just wanted to make sure, because I noticed that there was some noise, and when the grass brushes against the antenna and touches the antenna, it generates some noise, and especially when it gets windy, and I don't want it shorting out the antenna and taking away some of its gain.
Yeah.
So I don't miss anything.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Okay. Oh, and the and there was one thing that I mentioned. So I received 2 whistlers so far this month.
Oh, good.
And what I wanted to put on the in my presentation and probably on the poster is a histogram of how many whistlers that we received over the course of the year, counting the or how many whistlers per month. And I wanted to show the increase in whistlers over the spring and the fall months,
That sounds really good.
because so with the system, you since it's actually monitoring that, you can see the like a whistler histogram of how many whistlers received throughout the year, and it's worthwhile to correlate that with other data, specifically the sunspot cycle. So yeah, that was also one of the things. So I'm going to try to figure out how to do histograms in GNU plot.
That sounds good.
I'm sure that they could be done a lot easier in Python. I don't know if you've done histograms in Python before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've definitely done histograms in Python.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I could do it in GNU plot. Because I just like the how it looks, but I think that would be very valuable in showing people the relationship between conditions that are favorable for whistlers and how they change over the season.
I agree with that.
Okay. All right, yeah, I will get you those abstracts this week.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Mhm.
David McGaw, are you coming to the Hampside workshop?
Yes, I am.
Great. Did you you did not submit an abstract though, did you?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I am. I will.
You are. Were you planning on giving a talk or a poster or a demo or what?
A talk.
A talk. Okay. Because the talks are kind of filling up already. But you could send your abstract in sooner, as soon as you can.
Right.
Because I
Yeah, I
already
thought
have,
we already discussed that.
I can't remember. I've got so many emails. I have one from Jim LaBelle.
Right.
Is Jim coming in person?
He isn't sure yet.
Okay. I think
He's getting back from a trip like the day before.
Okay.
Or 2 days before.
Yeah. I'm going to prioritize, I think, in-person talks versus virtual talks.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, let me know about that.
Yep, will do.
Thank you. And I did tell Scotty I would like to try to get some magnetometers for sale and available at the Hampside workshop as well. But I haven't made really good progress on seeing that happen yet. So I'm trying. We'll see. I guess some other news. Christina she submitted revisions to a paper that she was doing with the grape data today. So hopefully that paper will go through. So crossing our fingers on that too.
I noticed that they send notes on that to us authors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we all got emails about that if you're on the author list for that paper. I guess that's about it for today then.
Yeah.
And Tom, thank you again for all of your work on the Tangerine this week. It was really nice to see your video and your progress with that.
I also want to make sure that John Ackerman gets due credit for his work this past week.
I agree.
Yeah, John did a lot, getting all those commands generated and finding the bugs in the commands. He found that the U Center and the Python UBX program do the same thing, except they take the parameters in a different format. And that threw him for a loop. So he wrote some wrapper around the Python to make the PyUBX parameters more human friendly, and that seemed to solve the issue.
That's good. How did all of you figure out the ordering of calling up the U blocks first?
Well, I had everything working gosh, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And then I had added the automatic synthesizer initializer code, which runs the first thing automatically. And I hadn't gone back and retried the GPS. And so when I went back to just do it manually, it didn't work. And the only change I could think of was the ordering. And so I reordered it and suddenly it worked.
Huh.
Very strange.
Guess it's a very sensitive instrument.
Well,
You have
that's
to
a nice,
talk to
that's a nice way to
It's-
put it.
It's really people build their pieces without thinking about interacting with other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think an I2C device would ignore I2C that had a different slave address.
Hmm.
But I guess that's not a true assumption.
Amazing. Glad you got it figured out.
Yeah, it was helpful. Dave Whitten was on the stream and had some good suggestions. Gosh, we had like 30 something emails in that stream until we finally got it all settled out. So it was a busy week.
Yeah. That sounds really busy.
It's nice to just turn it on and have everything come up without having 2 computers and 2 USB cables and all that. Certainly a lot more convenient.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
Yep.
Does anyone have any questions on the draft Hamside workshop program I posted so far?
No, but a quick question. When do you need the final presentations?
The final presentations, probably like, second week of March or so. I'll send an email out.
Okay.
First thing to do is to get this whole agenda figured out. And like, now I know that there's an outstanding abstract from David McGaw. I think Phil Erickson and Bill Wiles might have an outstanding abstract. I think I may have to look at this a little more carefully. I did get a confirmation from Ed Hare at the ARRL. He's going to come and he's going to give some workshops, which will be really nice. I think Case Western wants to do a few interactive workshops on Saturday afternoon. So I think I'm going to try to make Saturday afternoon more like interactive workshops in addition to the posters and the demos. I think will be nice.
Well, it sounds like it's shaping up. The proposed list of talks is pretty full already.
It is. And I mean, that's the thing that I think there's a couple of things I'm worried about. One is that, yes, the proposed list of talks is quite full. And I know there's still a few outstanding ones that I'd like to get in there. So I'm not sure how that's going to shape up yet. And just trying to make sure I get everyone's hotels and all that stuff squared away too. But I think we have something good to work with here.
You might consider, if you have too many talks, is you might convert some of them to lightning talks like we do at the Tapper.
Yeah.
Where you've got 6 minutes. I mean, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's where the poster idea comes in too. Like last year we did the posters with a poster walk. So the poster walk was kind of like lightning talks. So I think this is where, we have like a committee that Christina Collins, Bill Lyles, Justy Alexander, Phil Erickson, Rachel, myself, we're all going to get together tomorrow and kind of talk about this a little bit more. Because I really want to, there is more time Saturday afternoon, but I really want to make sure that there's time Saturday afternoon for people to not just be listening to oral presentations. I want people to have time to kind of walk around and mingle and, do some more hands-on stuff.
Jonathan, I had one question. I don't know if you're going to cover it in your presentation or just it's a good informal discussion topic. You mentioned a couple of weeks ago about time of group arrival. And so I looked that up on the web, and the only reference I could find to it was the paper that you referred to. I wasn't ever able to find a definition of time of group arrival. Do you have a definition of that or a discussion on that?
Yeah, actually, if you look on the Blitzertung website, they also reference a very good paper on time of group arrival. But when they talk about when you talk about group arrival, you're talking about all of the frequency content. So since spherics are broadband, time of group arrival refers to all of the frequency content within the spheric.
Yeah, the reason the question comes up is if you have dispersion, which means that different frequency components have different time delays, how do you choose which time delay to use?
Well, the thing is, in the spectrograms, the only dispersion that is observed with spherics are at the waveguide cutoff modes 1.7, 3.4 K, and also whistlers. But other than that, there really isn't much or much, if at all, any sort of dispersion other than those two instances.
Okay.
So
I'll go look at that Blitzertung website and see if they see what I can find that paper reference.
yeah, it is definitely on their website, and the utility VT Toga in VLFRX tools, what it does, it will look for spherics in the input stream based on settings that you give it, however many impulses over a period of time, different sorts of different values of scoring that it will assign impulses that are more spheric like, and when it finds something, it'll actually record the time of group arrival. I believe within the microsecond or hundreds of nanoseconds, and it'll also record some other information as well, some it'll record the time domain plot of the ground wave and the sky wave. It'll record instantaneous frequency, analytic magnitude, things like that. So you can do some more heavier different types of analysis, but for the sake of lightning location, the time of group arrival method, which is outlined in that paper, is the fairly popular way of doing lightning location.
All right, thanks. I will look at that. I appreciate it.
Yep. If you have any questions, feel free to email, although I'm still learning the details of this myself. So, but yeah, any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you.
Well, I think I'm going to say 73 for tonight. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night and 73.
73 is all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
73 all.
73.
Take care.